Hello everybody, Axlav here. I'm going to be doing a demonstration on how to do a very safe 2-gateway, 1-robo Protoss mirror strategy. The idea of this strategy is that with 2 gateways and 1 robo, you can defend against a 4 warp gate push, you can produce observers to defend against Dark Templar, and you're not quite spending 100% of your money on units, you're spending most of it so you can defend against rushes, but you have that little bit of extra money so that based on what your opponent is doing, you can choose either to go Colossus tech, you can choose to do Dark Templar tech, or you can even choose to throw down expansion pretty early. So the basic build starts out as normal, just keep cranking probes out. As soon as you have enough minerals to throw down the pylon, you throw down the pylon at 9 supply. And a lot of people like to scout after the pylon. I think it's better to put that probe right back on minerals, just keep getting more minerals, and you can wait a little bit longer and scout after the gateway. I don't think you're going to lose too much critical information or timing scouting 20 seconds later, but you do get an extra little bit of mineral boost that can help you in the early game. So you throw down the gateway at 12. Remember to be using your chrono boost on your probes early game. It really helps your economy. And you're going to head out scouting. I like to scout 9 o'clock base first if I'm at 12. It seems the most direct and the quickest with land distance. So if your opponent's doing a rush, you really want to know if they're at the 9 o'clock base early. You throw down an assimilator at 14 supply. With this build, you want to be getting that cybernetics core pretty early and producing those gas units. And then you're going to produce your second pylon around 16 supply. So you're going to notice how I put it at the bottom of my base. That's just so my opponent can't hide their own buildings, do some proxy cheese type build where they put buildings in your base and try to sneak in units that way. And then as soon as that gateway is done, you want to put down that cybernetics core. The cybernetics core is a very important building. Then one thing I'm going to pause it here. You see when I scouted him, I noticed that he's chrono boosting his zealot out of his gateway. And that's really important because if you see that chrono boost, you know he's going to put on a lot of early aggression and you need to make your own zealot ASAP. So I'm going to play it again. The other thing I noticed is that he has a gas, so he's not doing a 2-gate build. But I still want to get my own zealot just to hold off that early aggression he's going to be putting on with his chrono boosted zealot. And as long as I don't take too much damage, because I've been using chrono boost on my probes, I'll have a little bit stronger economy and I'll be slightly ahead in this game. So about 19 supply thrown on that second gateway. It's good to get that second gateway a little early so you can adapt better. I could have produced a little more probes and used chrono boost on them, but I know I don't need to produce too many extra probes. I'm already ahead because he got that zealot out so early. So I'm going to be using, instead of using my chrono boost on my sentry, I like to get a sentry out early because you want to let it build up its mana to use more of its abilities. So he's doing work on my pylon. I'm trying to scare him off and just buy time for my 2 gateways to really start kicking in. So he's got a second zealot there. You see, in this situation, I don't want to lose this pylon, so I'm going to pull 3 probes to help me fight his units. And unfortunately, it looks like he's got a third zealot coming here, so I have to back away and wait for me to get a second zealot of my own. Keep producing probes, even when you're under pressure. You know he didn't go 2 gateways. You know you can defend this. You don't want to stop making probes. Keep making your probes to get your economy going. So there's a lot of little zealot dancing, unit dancing here. One thing you really should not, you don't want to lose the early sentry. You want to keep it running away from the zealots. A little bit of micro mistake stopping it there. The zealot gets it. But I mean, the main thing is to stop the attack. I lost the sentry, it's kind of bad, but I do have a little bit of probe advantage even after losing. Let's see, looks like I lost 2 probes. Yeah, 2 probes here. So let's just pause it and look at the income tab right here. So I did lose 2 probes, but if you notice, I still have 2 more probes in him. So even though he did some damage, because I was using the chrono boost on my probes and he was using it on that zealot early, I still have the economic advantage even after that harass. So let's get this game back going again. One thing is, right about now, it's a good time to try to sneak in another scout if you can. I should be doing that pretty soon. As well as starting your robo bay around probably 35 supply. The other thing, you need to make sure as soon as your cybernetics core gets up, you're starting warp gates. Warp gates is a very important tech. I forgot to mention that earlier, but it's extremely important. I mean, a warp gate is like a gateway on steroids. It's just a much better version of it. So it looks like I'm seeing another probe take out this other vision tower. It's like me good vision, I can see him coming in. You notice I'm using a stalker to scout around my base, make sure there's no hidden buildings there. There's the robotics facility. When you're choosing what gateway units to build, you want to get a pretty good distribution. At this point in the game, you don't know what your opponent's doing, so you can't really counter them. So you just get a good distribution of gateway units so you're prepared for whatever comes your way. If you notice, I saw in the sentry tower he moved out with about 5 units. That means I know it's safe to send in my probe and scout, because the units are out of his base so I can see what he's up to. It's really important to get this scout timing down, because what you see will be really important. So you see now that he is on, looks like 4 gateways, 4 warp gates. That's a very, very aggressive build, and it means that he's going to be getting his robotics facility very late. So this is when I'm thinking, okay, with my 2-gate, one robo build, I'm ahead in tech, but he's going to have more units than me. So instead of teching even more for Colossus, I'm going to get a couple Immortals just to make sure I can defend his push. It's very important to produce sentries when you see a 4 warp gate build, as he's going to have a lot more units, so you need to use that force field so you only fight a portion of his army at once. So he's coming in here for his attack. See how he cut his army in half the force field. That's a very, basic and important force field usage is to cut their army in half and to come up the ramp. So right there, he just lost half his army, and I lost my zealots, which are the least important of my units. That's a very good trade for me. Knock out this pawn he's trying to build in there. And he's going to come up again. And there you go. You cut out those 2 zealots, and you can take out the majority of his army again right here. And it's really, with the 2 warp gates in a row, you can produce enough units to defend, even against some of those 4 warp gates. The other thing you notice is, as I was defending, I started a Twilight Council. Now that tech choice is because I saw warp gates. When your opponent makes that many warp gates, their own robotics facility is going to be very late. And the robotics facility is the only Protoss way to get mobile detection in the form of the Observer. The Observer is the only Protoss unit that can see Dark Templar. And I know my opponent's Observer is going to be late, so I'm going to do my own Dark Templar attack. So my Twilight Council is done, and right here I'm throwing up the Dark Shrine. This is really where the strength of this build comes into play, is that the fact that I have this extra money because I only built 2 gateways, and I can spend it on any type of tech I want. And I saw my opponents doing gateway units, so I know his detection will be slow. I can get out this Dark Templar Shrine. The Dark Templar will either end the game immediately, or at the very least, it will contain my opponent, maybe get a couple probe kills, and it'll give me room to start my own expansion. As there's no way he's going to be able to have his detection on my side of the map in order to kill Dark Templar used for defensive purposes. Another thing you notice is I built a pylon right here at the bottom right hand of the map. This way I can warp in my Dark Templar right here, and it's much closer to his base, and it's they'll get there and wreak their havoc a lot sooner. So if you notice, my unit composition is kind of going Zealot and Immortal, and that's mostly because both those are production units. Immortal is the only unit I can produce that can fight out of the robotics facility, and Zealots are units that cost no gas. And I want to be saving up my gas so I can warp in these Dark Templar right here. Dark Templar are very gas intensive. So I'll be sending these Dark Templar in, and right here I'm thinking very good chance game's over. And if not, I have X spawned away. He does not have his expansion started. And I can start slicing. I see he has an Immortal. That means he does have a robotics facility. And you can see he's currently boosting Observer out. But, I mean, I've already gotten like 5 probe kills. And he's lost a lot of mining time. 6 probe kills, 7 probe kills, 8 probe kills. And with all the mining time he's lost, he's definitely paid himself off. And I can see also he's got, about 8 units. and I have, I have like 15. So because I did a safe build, he tried to attack me, his attack failed, I just ended up very far ahead in this game. And that's kind of a basic concept that you really want to keep in mind, that if you do a safe build and your opponent really tries to put a lot of pressure, if they're not able to do a whole lot of damage, you're going to be ahead. And so it's good to master these safe builds, even though, yeah, you won't come in and stomp your opponent in 6 minutes, but you'll get a lot more experience and feel for the game. You'll get to practice, trying to keep up with your macro, producing probes out of 2 nexuses at once constantly, adding in more warp gates as you need them, adding in more tech. You see, once I noticed the Dark Templars, he got the Observer out, he was able to counter them. I'm going to be switching over to Colossus tech. Colossus are pretty much a ground-dominating unit. There's almost no ground force that really is too effective against Colossus. So as soon as you are able to add that Robo Bay, you really want to add them in. See here, I'm warping in more Dark Templar. I'm going to try to snipe his Expo. Looks like he's coming out, but I mean, even though he has that Observer, and he reacted pretty quickly, he still lost that Expo. I mean, Dark Templar, they do 45 damage a hit, so they'll really take down stuff quickly, and you can use them to annoy your opponent to no ends. The other thing you notice is I have probes here patrolling through these unused mines. This is just to make sure your opponent doesn't sneak in an expansion and be getting all this extra mining income that you don't know about. You really want to know if your opponent's expanding so you can send some guys there to deal with it. Well, basically this game, I'm already at a very large advantage. If I pause it right here, you can look at the income tab. I have twice his worker count with almost twice his mineral income and over twice his gas income. If you look at the army tab, you can see, I've got 100 food of army, 103 food. He's got 65. So this game is basically all but over. You can play a straightforward macro game however you want. And this really just shows how this 2-gate 1 robo build, if you run into a very aggressive build like this, you can defend it and you'll be ahead, and just you can steamroll them later on in the match. You don't need to hurry and kill them really quickly. Take your expansion, get all your different tech choices up, and come into the mid game with a very large lead. And it's a good build to practice, and I hope you guys try it out and stick with it.